The young and the restless spoilers. Diane sat in the center of her elegantly furnished living room, the late afternoon sun filtering through lace curtains and casting delicate patterns on the Persian rug beneath her feet. Her hands trembled as she reached for a crystal decanter of sherry, pouring herself a single, unsteady measure. In the silence, only the ticking of an antique grandfather clock broke the tension. Diane's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and determination. Today, she would finally confess the secret that had been gnawing at her conscience for decades. Just outside, her son Kyle paced the manicured lawn, his tall frame tense with impatience. Rumors had been swirling in Genoa City for weeks. Diane was on the brink of revealing something terrible, a secret so monstrous it would shake the foundations of her world. Everyone assumed it involved Kyle. After all, he'd been at the center of so many controversies over the years. Yet Kyle knew only that his mother had called him and his brother Jack back home under urgent circumstances. What she would say, he could not guess, and the uncertainty left him on edge. Inside, Diane closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She heard the doorbell. Jack, her elder son by several years, entered first, sharp suit, worried eyes, the weight of past betrayals etched into his expression. Kyle followed, arms crossed, his usual bravado stripped away by genuine concern. Diane motioned them to sit, and they exchanged uneasy glances. The room seemed to shrink as Diane stood, her posture regal but brittle. "I've asked you here because I can't carry this alone any longer," Diane began, her voice wavering. "There's a truth I've hidden, one that I fear has haunted me more than you can imagine." Jack leaned forward. "Mom, whatever it is, we're here for you." Kyle uncrossed his arms, forcing himself to meet her gaze. "Just tell us." Diane nodded, swallowing hard. "You know I left Genoa City over 20 years ago. I left without warning, without saying goodbye. I've never explained why, and I know that hurt you both deeply." Kyle's jaw clenched. "Yeah. You disappeared. No calls, no letters. We thought you were gone for good." She closed her eyes, tears pooling. "I was in danger. And it wasn't just me. It was all because of Martin." At the mention of that name, Jack's eyes narrowed. "Martin? Martin Ashford? But he's been gone. We thought you two had nothing to do with each other since high school." Diane's hands clenched the edge of the small table. "He never stopped wanting me. When I refused his advances, he became obsessive. He threatened me, Jack. He said if I didn't do exactly as he commanded, he would ruin everything, my career, my reputation, even your lives." Kyle's face paled. "He threatened us? Why didn't you tell anyone?" "I was ashamed," Diane whispered. "I thought I could handle it. I thought that if I disappeared, he'd move on. But he didn't. He followed me from city to city, sending letters, making calls, watching me. I lived in constant fear." She paused, searching their faces for understanding. "Finally, when Kyle was born, I believed I'd outrun him. I changed my name, moved to Chicago, started a new life. I thought it was over." Jack shook his head in disbelief. "And you never once reached out? No letters, no birthday cards? Nothing?" Diane's shoulders shook with silent sobs. "I couldn't risk it. Every time I tried, I imagined Martin intercepting my mail or tracing my calls. I thought I was protecting you by staying away." Kyle stood abruptly, pacing. "So all these years, you thought you were keeping us safe by abandoning us?" Diane flinched but held his gaze. "Yes. And every day since then, I've regretted it. But I couldn't come back until I knew he was truly gone." Jack rose to stand beside his brother, their combined presence a silent wall of protection. "Where is he now?" Jack demanded. Diane took a trembling breath. "I received a letter 2 weeks ago. Martin has resurfaced in Genoa City. He's threatened to expose my new identity, and if I don't comply with his demands, He'll reveal everything to you, to your father, to everyone. Kyle ran a hand through his hair, his anger giving way to fierce protectiveness. Mom, why would he do this now after all these years? She looked between her sons, desperation in her eyes. He wants leverage. He wants control. I don't know what he plans, perhaps to blackmail me into coming back to him, or worse. Jack's expression hardened. We'll deal with him. You're our mother, Diane. You don't have to face this alone. Diane's lips trembled into a grateful smile. Thank you. I was so afraid. Kyle crossed the room and wrapped his mother in a tight embrace. Jack joined, and for a moment, the three stood together, a family reunited in shared purpose. The secret that had threatened to tear them apart now bound them together, forging a new resolve to confront Martin Ashford once and for all. As dusk settled over Genoa City, Diane felt, for the first time in decades, that she wasn't alone. The long shadows in the room seemed to recede, replaced by the warm glow of hope. And though the road ahead would be fraught with danger, she knew that with Jack and Kyle by her side, she could finally face the past and reclaim her future. Diane's life had always been a delicate balancing act, a tightrope walk between past mistakes and present hopes. For years, she had managed to carve out a semblance of peace and happiness in Genoa City despite the long shadow cast by her former life. The idyllic days she now shared with Jack and Kyle were a stark contrast to the dark memories that continued to haunt her. However, as whispers of a new, devastating secret began to circulate, the stability she had so painstakingly built started to tremble. It all began when Martin, a man from a chapter of Diane's past that she had hoped was long sealed away, re-emerged with a vengeance. Martin had always been relentless, a figure who not only symbolized her painful memories but also held a dangerous piece of information. Now, knowing that Diane was enjoying a life filled with happiness and newfound freedom, he saw an opportunity. With cold precision, Martin began to threaten her, forcing her to bend to his will. He demanded that she serve him, ensuring that his secret remained buried. His ultimatum was simple yet chilling: comply with his dark demands, or let the secret shatter the life she had rebuilt. In the dim light of an early autumn evening, Diane sat in her study, poring over old photographs and letters that traced back to the tumultuous years of her past. Every scrap of paper, every faded memory, reminded her of the days when Martin's influence was an inescapable chain. During that time, she had been deeply entangled with him, a relationship marked by manipulation and coercion. It was also during these years that Diane's marriage to Jack had crumbled. While the divorce was officially finalized, the unresolved tensions and painful history left scars that still lingered beneath the surface of her current relationship with Jack, who had long tried to reconcile the image of the loving husband with that of a man abandoned by secrets. Yet, amid all the heartache and pain, there was one question that continued to torment everyone involved: who was Kyle's real father? For years, the assumption had been that Jack was his father, a belief that gave Kyle a sense of identity and belonging. But whispers in the corridors of power and scandal hinted at a much more sinister possibility. Could it be that Martin held the key to this mystery? Had he discovered the truth about Kyle's biological origins, and was that why he was so desperate to control Diane? One chilly evening, as Diane sat by the window watching the rain trace dark lines down the glass, she finally allowed herself to confront the inevitable. She picked up the phone and dialed Jack's number. When Jack arrived at her modest home, his presence was a mix of concern and unwavering support. Kyle, too, soon joined them, his youthful determination tempered by the harsh reality of secrets that could undo everything he had known. With trembling hands and a voice laced with both fear and resolve, Diane began her confession. "I have kept many secrets from you, things I thought would never see the light of day," she said, her eyes fixed on a distant memory. "But there's one I must reveal, a secret that has haunted me for decades." Her voice wavered as she recounted the dark days with Martin. "Back when I was with him, I was trapped in a situation where I had no choice but to obey him. I thought leaving was the only way to protect the ones I love. That's why I divorced Jack. I needed to escape his control, to start anew. Jack's face tightened with a mixture of hurt and anger, but he forced himself to listen. Mom, what are you saying? He asked, his tone both pleading and stern. You mean to tell us that Martin was not just some cruel chapter in your life, but that he might hold a secret about Kyle? Diane hesitated, swallowing back tears. Martin has always had a way of digging into things, finding truths that others would rather keep hidden. I believe that he discovered something about Kyle, something that would shatter everything if it came out. I fear that Kyle might not be my son in the way you all assume. There are hints, whispers in the dark, that suggest his true father could be someone else. And I'm terrified that Martin is using this as leverage against me. Kyle's eyes widened in shock, his mind reeling. Are you saying that I might not be your brother by blood? That I might not be Jack's son? His voice was barely a whisper, laden with confusion and hurt. Diane's heart ached at the thought of causing further pain to the family she cherished. I never wanted this secret to come out, but Martin is threatening me. He wants me to serve him, to do his bidding, and in exchange, he'll keep this secret under lock and key. I've tried to keep this hidden for years, hoping that the truth would remain buried. I believed that by leaving my old life behind, I had protected you both. But now, it appears that the past refuses to let go. Jack's jaw tightened as he struggled to process the implications. The revelation was more than a betrayal, it was a redefinition of everything they believed about their family. So, if what you're saying is true, then everything we've built, every memory we've shared, is based on a lie? His voice was heavy with both disbelief and sorrow. Martin's threat loomed like a specter in the room, a constant reminder that the past could erupt at any moment and obliterate the present. Why would Martin care about this secret? Jack demanded, his eyes burning with indignation. If Kyle isn't my son, then what's the point? Why risk everything? Diane's gaze fell, and after a long moment of silence, she responded, Martin knows that revealing Kyle's true paternity would destroy not just me, but our entire family. He wants to control me, to force me back into the world of secrets and manipulation that I fought so hard to escape. He intends to use this secret as a weapon, an excuse to exert power over me and, by extension, over everything I hold dear. As the rain continued to drum against the windows, the gravity of the situation settled over the room. Jack and Kyle exchanged glances, their emotions a turbulent blend of betrayal, confusion, and protectiveness. Kyle, grappling with the possibility that his identity might be nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion, stepped closer to Diane. Mom, no matter what the truth is, we're a family. We'll face this together. His voice, though trembling, carried a determination that gave Diane a glimmer of hope. Jack, his own anger simmering beneath the surface, added, Martin has no right to dictate our lives. We're going to find out the truth, even if it means confronting painful realities. You deserve to live free of his threats, and we're going to help you do just that. In that moment, amid the storm of revelations and shattered certainties, the family realized that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. The past, with its tangled web of secrets, was not easily unraveled. Yet, in unity, they found strength. The specter of Martin's manipulation would be confronted head-on, and the truth about Kyle's origins would be unearthed, no matter how devastating it might be. Diane knew that the coming days would test their bonds and shake the very foundations of their relationships. But she also understood that living a life in the shadow of secrets was no life at all. As the night deepened and the rain subsided into a gentle patter, the promise of a new dawn emerged, a dawn where truth, however painful, could set them free from the chains of the past. And in that fragile hope lay the courage to rebuild, together, a future founded on honesty, no matter the cost. This narrative captures the intensity of Diane's predicament, the complexity of her past relationships with Martin and Jack, and the heart-wrenching possibility that Kyle's paternity might upend everything they believed in. It is a story of hidden truths, of a mother's desperate attempts to protect her family, and of the lengths to which a man like Martin will go to wield his dark power over their lives. February 2nd.